You pull up to a luxury hotel in an 11-year-old sedan. The valet glances at the car, then at you, and points toward the cheaper parking entrance. You nod, park it yourself, and walk inside wearing the same black t-shirt you have worn 100 times. 5 minutes later, you are upstairs meeting the private banker who manages a portfolio worth more than $3 million. Downstairs, a man is taking pictures of his new supercar. Upstairs, your banker is asking whether you want to move another $200,000 into long-term investments. You could buy almost every car in that valet line without changing your life. But if somebody judged your wealth from the parking lot, they would get you completely wrong. And that is exactly how some wealthy people prefer it. Not because they hate nice things, not because every millionaire secretly drives a 20-year-old Toyota, and definitely not because looking broke is some magical wealth strategy. The real reason is stranger. Once you have enough money, advertising it can start creating problems that the money was supposed to remove. Years earlier, you wanted the opposite. You did not want to look average. You wanted the outside of your life to finally match how hard you had been working. Your first real raise felt invisible. The number in your bank account changed, but you still drove the same car, wore the same clothes, and lived in the same apartment. You had worked late for years. You had skipped trips. You had invested while friends were upgrading everything. And when the money finally started becoming real, almost nobody could see it. So you bought something people could see. The car came first. You remember the dealership lights reflecting off the hood. The salesperson handed you the key, like you had just been promoted into a different class of human being. Then came the watch. Then the apartment with the view. For a while, it worked exactly the way you hoped. People noticed. Friends asked questions. Co-workers assumed you were doing well. Even strangers treated the car like evidence that you had figured something out. When you pulled into a restaurant, the valet moved faster. When you arrived at work, people looked through the glass before you even walked in. When family visited, someone always wanted to see the car. The purchase did not only buy leather, metal, and horsepower, it bought a new version of you. Then the new version started sending invoices. The payment was obvious. The insurance was higher. Parking changed. Repairs changed. Tires that used to be an annoying expense became a serious bill. A normal service visit suddenly came with coffee, leather chairs, and a number that made the free coffee feel very expensive. Then there was the attention cost. One Saturday, you spend 40 minutes crouched beside the bumper, staring at a scratch nobody else would have noticed. At dinner, you keep looking through the restaurant window because the car is parked on the street. A shopping cart rolls near it in a grocery store parking lot and your whole body reacts. And that is when the first uncomfortable thought appears. If this thing is supposed to make your life better, why is it occupying so much of your mind? But the bigger surprise is that visible wealth does not stay attached to the object. It starts changing the expectations around you. A friend chooses the expensive restaurant because, well, you can afford it. Someone jokes that you should get the bill. A salesperson stops showing you the normal option and begins with the premium one. At a furniture store, you ask about a basic sofa and the salesperson walks you toward the designer section. At family gatherings, people ask what the car cost before they ask how you are. A cousin laughs and says, "Come on, that's nothing for you." Maybe they are joking. Maybe they are not. None of these moments are catastrophic. That is why they are easy to ignore. But they all point to the same thing. Once people can see your money enters the room before you do. Eventually, you try a strange experiment. You sell the expensive car, not because you cannot afford it, because you are curious what disappears with it. You replace it with something comfortable, reliable, and aggressively uninteresting. No dramatic badge, no engine people turn around to hear, no reason for anyone to ask what it cost. The first week feels like a downgrade. You pull into the office parking lot and nobody notices. A coworker walks right past it. For a second, your ego notices that nobody noticed. Then something unexpected happens. You stop thinking about where you park. You stop checking the window every time you hear a noise outside. You stop having the same conversation about your car with every person you meet. At the grocery store, a cart rolls close to the bumper and you keep walking. At a restaurant, you sit down and actually stay in the conversation. You drive to a rougher part of town and do not spend the entire time wondering whether the car is attracting attention. Most importantly, people stop learning something about your finances before they learn anything about you. That is the first reason some millionaires choose to look average. Privacy. Visible wealth can make you easier to categorize, easier to notice, and sometimes easier to target. An expensive watch announces itself from across a table. A supercar announces itself from half a block away. A mansion announces itself to the entire neighborhood. An investment account does not. A paid-off house does not. 10 years of living expenses sitting quietly in diversified investments does not. And once you have enough money, invisibility can become a luxury of its own. You can walk into a coffee shop and just be the person ordering coffee. You can take your car to a mechanic without first broadcasting what you might be able to spend. You can meet someone new without giving them a financial biography before the first conversation begins. The second reason is harder to measure. Ordinary appearance can keep social information cleaner. If somebody does not know your net worth, they cannot build the entire relationship around it. A new friend invites you somewhere because they enjoy your company, not because they think you can upgrade the table. A stranger disagrees with you without worrying whether you are important. A neighbor asks you to help move a table because, to them, you are just the guy next door. A mechanic gives you the same explanation he gives everyone else because he does not see a luxury badge in the parking lot. You may not like every interaction more. Some people may underestimate you. Some salespeople may ignore you. Some rooms may take you less seriously. But you get a better look at how people behave when they do not think your money matters. And sometimes being underestimated is cheaper than constantly being managed. Then there is the reason that matters most financially. Looking average can make an expensive life optional instead of mandatory. High income feels powerful until your lifestyle requires the high income. Imagine two people earning the same enormous salary. The first one has a large mortgage, 2 luxury cars, club memberships, constant renovations, expensive vacations, and a social circle where every weekend costs money. The second lives well, but the fixed costs are low. From the outside, the first person looks richer, but one bad year changes the picture. A recession hits, a bonus disappears, a business slows down. The first person starts calculating what must be sold. The second starts calculating how much time they now have. That difference is runway. Runway means you can survive a bad year without pretending everything is fine. It means you can leave a job that has become toxic. It means when your manager calls you into a room and says, "This is just how things are now," you can look at the door and know leaving is an actual option. It means you can take 6 months to build something that might fail. You can rent a small workspace, buy equipment, spend months learning, watch the first version fail, build the second. And you do not have to explain to the bank why the luxury lifestyle can no longer be funded. It means you can help your parents without needing the world to know you helped them. Pay the medical bill, fix the roof, cover the flight, then go home without turning generosity into content. Invisible wealth turns money into options instead of decorations. This is where people often misunderstand so-called stealth wealth. It is not a competition to see who can look the poorest while secretly owning the most index funds. It is not refusing comfort just to prove you are disciplined. And it is not pretending expensive things never bring joy. If cars are your thing, the car might be worth it. If watches are your thing, buy the watch. If the house gives your family space, safety, privacy, and a daily life you genuinely love, that matters. A wealthy person driving a sports car is not automatically financially stupid. A wealthy person driving an old sedan is not automatically wise. The real question is more uncomfortable. Would you still want it if nobody could see it? That question becomes a filter. Would you still buy the car if nobody at work ever knew what you drove? Would you still buy the watch if nobody ever recognized the logo? Would you still choose the giant house if nobody ever came over? Would you still book the most expensive hotel room if you were not posting the view? Sometimes the answer is yes. Good. Now at least you are buying the thing instead of buying the reaction. And sometimes the answer is no. That is useful too, because the money you do not spend trying to create an impression can buy something far less visible. Time. The third surprise is that wealthy people who look ordinary often spend far more than you think. They simply spend where the spending is hard to photograph. They may spend on health, a better doctor, physical therapy before pain becomes serious, a gym close enough that they actually use it. They may spend on sleep, a mattress that fixes their back, a quiet room, a home in a neighborhood where they can walk instead of losing 2 hours a day in traffic. They may pay for a direct flight because 8 hours of their time matters more than posting a photo from first class. They may hire an accountant who prevents expensive mistakes, a lawyer who reads the contract properly, insurance that keeps one disaster from becoming a financial reset, a cleaner who gives them Saturday back, education that makes the next 10 years easier. None of that necessarily makes you look rich in a parking lot, but it can make your actual life feel dramatically richer. That is the difference between visible luxury and invisible quality. One photographs well, the other compounds quietly. There is another reason some millionaires stay visually ordinary. Status can become a trap because once you build an identity around upgrading, standing still starts to feel like falling. Your first luxury car feels incredible. The second has to be better. The next apartment needs the higher floor. The next vacation needs the better hotel. The restaurant you used to consider expensive becomes normal. The watch that once felt absurd becomes the baseline. Eventually, you are not upgrading your life. You are maintaining a storyline. And storylines are expensive because the audience remembers the last episode. If everyone knows you as the person with the car, selling the car can feel like an announcement. If everyone knows the house, downsizing can feel like failure. If your entire identity says more, choosing less starts requiring an explanation. But if nobody knows the number, you can quietly change direction. Sell the car, move to a smaller house, take a lower paying job, spend a year traveling, start a company, close the company, start over. There is no public downgrade because there was never a public performance. But there is a head fake here. Looking wealthy is not always useless. In some industries, appearance is part of the signal. A luxury real estate broker may benefit from arriving in a way that matches the market they sell into. A high-end salesperson may use presentation to communicate familiarity with the customer's world. A public figure may deliberately build an image because image is part of the business. A founder may dress differently for an investor meeting than for Sunday groceries. And some people simply love beautiful objects enough that the cost is worth it. A collector can spend Sunday morning polishing a classic car alone in a garage and enjoy every second. Nobody has to see it. The point is not that rich people should look poor. The point is that once you have money, you get to decide whether your lifestyle serves you or whether you are serving the lifestyle. Years after selling the first luxury car, somebody at work finally finds out what you are worth. Maybe they see a document they were not supposed to see. Maybe they hear it from somebody else. They stare at you. Then they look through the window at the old sedan outside. Then they ask the obvious question, why are you still driving that? And for a second, you do not know how to explain that the car stopped being the point a long time ago. The point was being able to leave the office if you needed to, being able to take your mother to an appointment on a Tuesday morning, being able to survive a market crash without selling your life back to somebody else, being able to say no to money when the money comes attached to a life you do not want, being able to sleep because your life does not require everything to go perfectly. That kind of wealth is almost impossible to photograph. So you return to the same luxury hotel months later, the same entrance, the same valet, the same ordinary sedan. The valet still does not care who you are. Then a man in a supercar pulls in behind you. People turn, phones come out. For a moment, the entire entrance belongs to him. You walk past unnoticed, and this time, being ignored does not feel like a downgrade. It feels like proof that the money is finally doing its job. It bought privacy. It bought room to change your mind. It bought the ability to help people quietly. It bought protection from one bad year. It bought time. And none of those things require strangers to know what you are worth. That is why some millionaires deliberately look average. Not because average is the goal, because freedom is. And if nobody could see what you bought, what would you still choose to spend your money on? That answer probably tells you more about the life you actually want than your net worth ever will.